Picture yourself standing in a hallway. Stone walls on both sides, maybe 8 feet apart. The ceiling is low enough that a tall person would have to think about it. There are doorways cut into the rock at regular intervals, and behind those doorways are rooms, actual rooms, with floor space and alcoves and in some cases the remnants of shelving carved directly into the wall. The air is cold and still in the way that air only gets when it has not moved in a long time. There is no natural light anywhere. And the hallway does not end at 50 feet or 100. It keeps going. It branches. It has side passages that lead to more rooms, more corridors, more carved spaces that somebody once had a reason to make. You are not in a cave. You are in a city. You are just standing in the part of it that nobody has opened in over a century. Derinkuyu is the most documented of the underground cities that were built across the Cappadocia region of what is now central Turkey. But documented does not mean fully understood, and it certainly does not mean fully explored. The city descends 18 stories below the surface. It held, at its peak functional capacity, an estimated 20,000 people along with their livestock, their food stores, their wine and oil production facilities, their ventilation systems, their wells, and their dead. It had a church. It had a school. It had a large communal space on the second level that researchers believe functioned as a meeting hall, though the specifics of how daily life organized itself in a space with no daylight and no natural sense of time passing remain genuinely unclear. The city was rediscovered in 1963 when a resident of the modern town above it broke through a wall during a home renovation and found a passage leading downward. Turkish authorities have since opened approximately half of the complex to researchers and limited tourism. The other half remains sealed. The official reason is structural safety. That may be entirely true. What tends to get lost in the coverage of Derinkuyu is that it is not unique. It is not even unusual for the region. Researchers have identified more than 200 underground settlements in Cappadocia alone, ranging from small shelters with a few rooms to full cities with multiple levels and populations that would have made them significant urban centers by the standards of any era before industrialization. Kaymakli, located roughly 9 miles from Derinkuyu, connects to it through a tunnel that runs underground between the two cities and has never been fully mapped. The tunnel is known to exist. Its full length has not been documented. Nobody has walked it end to end and recorded history and returned with a complete account of what it contains. The volcanic geology of Cappadocia made this possible in a specific way that matters. The region sits on a layer of soft volcanic rock called tuff, deposited by eruptions millions of years ago, and then eroded by wind and water into the extraordinary landscape of towers and cones that draws visitors today. Tuff is soft enough to carve with basic iron tools, but hard enough to hold its shape once cut, and it insulates against both heat and cold with a consistency that no above-ground building material available before the industrial era could match. The people who built these cities were not hiding from modernity. They were solving a set of engineering problems with the materials directly available to them, and they solved those problems well enough that the structures they carved are still standing, still stable, and in many cases still sealed, 18 stories below the surface of a landscape that most tourists photograph from above without knowing what is underneath their feet. The question of why keeps getting answered the same way in most coverage of these sites, and the answer is always defense. The Hittites built them to hide from enemies. The early Christians used them to escape Roman persecution. The Byzantine populations retreated into them during Arab raids in the 7th and 8th centuries. All of that is documented and none of it is wrong, but it is also incomplete in a way that matters, because it frames these cities purely as emergency infrastructure, as places people went when the surface became dangerous and left as soon as the danger passed. The archaeological record does not entirely support that framing. The ventilation systems in Derinkuyu are engineered with a sophistication that goes well beyond emergency use. There are over 50 ventilation shafts, some reaching down to the lowest levels, designed to circulate air through the entire complex in a way that required careful planning of shaft placement, diameter, and angle. You do not build that kind of system for a place you intend to occupy for a few weeks. The wine presses carved into the rock on the lower levels, the stabling areas designed for permanent livestock housing, the water systems that channeled fresh water from underground sources into the city at multiple levels. These are not the features of a shelter. They are the features of a place where people intended to live for extended periods, possibly indefinitely, and had thought carefully about what that would require. The dating of the original construction, is where the archaeological record gets genuinely complicated. The deepest and oldest layers of Derinkuyu show signs of construction that predate the Hittite period, which pushes the timeline back beyond 1200 BC. Some researchers argue the original excavation began as early as the Phrygian period, around 800 BC. Others, looking at tool marks on the deepest walls, have suggested the work began earlier still, in a period for which the historical record in that region is thin enough that attribution becomes difficult. What is clear is that the city was not built by a single group in a single period. It was added to, expanded, and modified over centuries by successive populations who found it useful for different reasons at different moments, and each group left its own layer of modification on top of what came before. The church on the second level, cut from the rock in the shape of a cross, is Byzantine. The rooms around it are older. The shafts that ventilate them are older still. The circular stone doors are the detail that stays with people longest after they visit, and for good reason. At each level of Derinkuyu, massive disc-shaped stones were positioned to roll across the passageways, connecting sections of the city. The stones weigh between 200 and 500 kilograms each. They could only be moved from the inside by the people already within the sealed section, using a lever system built into the rock beside each door. From the outside, the doors cannot be opened. A person standing on the far side of a rolled stone door in Derinkuyu is not delayed. They are stopped entirely. The engineering of that mechanism is not complicated, but its implications are significant. These were not doors designed to slow an enemy down while the residents escaped through another route. They were designed to seal sections of the city permanently against outside entry while life continued on the other side. Whatever was happening in those sealed sections, it was meant to continue undisturbed regardless of what was happening above. The 17 cities referenced in the historical and archaeological literature as confirmed large-scale underground urban settlements built before 1900 are distributed across a geography that does not form a clean pattern, and that lack of pattern is itself worth sitting with for a moment. Cappadocia has the highest concentration, but confirmed underground cities of significant scale have been documented in Petra in Jordan, where the surface rock-cut architecture that tourists visit is the visible portion of a settlement system that extends into the cliff faces much further than the standard tour covers. In Matmata in southern Tunisia, the Berber population built pit dwellings that functioned as connected underground communities, some of which have been continuously occupied into the modern era. In China, the Yaodong cave-dwelling tradition of the Loess Plateau produced underground communities housing populations that, in aggregate, reached into the millions during certain historical periods. A scale of underground habitation so large that it does not fit comfortably into the Western framing of underground cities as exceptional or ancient. In Scotland, souterrains, long underground stone-lined passages attached to surface settlements, appear throughout the Iron Age record in numbers suggesting they were standard infrastructure rather than unusual construction. Most have never been fully excavated. What connects these sites across their geographic and cultural distance is not a shared origin or a shared threat. It is a shared recognition that the surface is not always the best place to be, and that the ground itself, carved correctly, offers stability that no above-ground structure built with pre-industrial materials could match. Temperature regulation, structural permanence, protection from wind and weather and fire and the particular violence that tends to move across open landscapes. The underground solved all of these problems simultaneously for the people who understood how to use it. The populations who built these cities were not primitive. They were making a rational engineering choice with the materials available to them, and in several cases, they were making that choice at a scale that required organizational capacity, technical knowledge, and long-term planning that the surface civilizations of the same period often did not demonstrate as clearly. The sealed portions of Derinkuyu have not been opened because Turkish authorities have not opened them. That is the complete and accurate statement of the situation. Whether what lies in those sections is structurally compromised rock, undisturbed archaeological material, or something that has simply not been prioritized in the decades since the city was rediscovered, is not publicly known. Researchers who have worked at the site have stated in interviews that the known portions of the city represent a fraction of its total extent. A 2021 survey using ground-penetrating radar identified cavities extending beyond the currently mapped boundaries in multiple directions. The survey results were published. The cavities have not been opened. The city that housed 20,000 people, 18 stories below the surface of central Turkey, is still mostly sealed, still mostly unmapped, and still sitting under a modern town where people go about their daily lives without thinking much about what is directly beneath them. If a specific detail in this video made you stop, the tunnel between Derinkuyu and Kaymakli that nobody has fully walked, the stone doors that only open from the inside, the radar survey that found new cavities and then nothing happened, drop it in the comments and tell us which one landed. Not a reaction, an actual moment. The people who find videos like this one tend to be the kind who notice things others scroll past, and those comment threads go places worth reading. If your family history or your own research has ever crossed paths with underground settlements, sealed sites, or architectural mysteries that official sources brushed off, we genuinely want to hear it. Share it below. That story might shape what we cover next. And if you want to be here when it goes up, subscribing takes 2 seconds and it actually matters for a channel this size. We are not done yet. Not even close.